moment is mine, can't no one take it from me. What I feel, who I am, unconditionally. I've left all of my fears and my tears on the ground. Oh, it's time to let it out. It's time to let it go. What's in my past?
Thank you for joining me again. This is Jasmine, the host of Ethereal Pathways. I wanted to just mention at the very beginning of this video that I want to send my prayers out to Charlie Kirk's family for, his assassination this past week. His death will, it sent shockwaves throughout the collective. And it really is kind of a wake-up call, I believe, for a lot of people to, what path do we want to take in this life? And, killing people, I'm just going to share this. Killing people is not the way to solve problems. And I don't care what side you're on, left or right, conservative or, progressive. It doesn't matter. Killing people is not the answer. And I just want to start off, this episode by, prefacing with this, it's just not right. There's a way to handle things through, discussion and debate and things like that. Healthy debate. Not berating, not, calling people, terrible names and shooting them. So, I think that there's more of a divide that's going to be happening between, good and evil, so to speak, the light and the dark, the polarity. That is part of why we're here, is to learn through the polarity of our shadow side and our light side, our divine side. And really the divine is both. We have shadow and the light from that, and we have to learn how to balance that. And that's why we're here on Earth School, to learn how to balance that. So maybe we'll just talk a little bit about that and how it's really been shocking for a lot of people that people would stoop to that level to kill, somebody that is trying to make a difference in the world, just really trying to get people to use logic, logic over, the herd mentality and propaganda. And, he challenged people to think for themselves and use basic logic. And I just think that it's just tragic. But again, that's our polarity showing itself through the collective. And, the dark is lashing out. They're probably feeling like they're losing control because of people waking up right now. There is a mass awakening going on within the last 10 years for sure. I've seen it. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've seen a huge awakening even amongst my own friends and my soul group, and people I work with is included in that. It's amazing to me to see, I've said this before in a previous episode, it's amazing to me to see the awakening that has been happening with people I even work with every day. I could see it. It's becoming more accelerated. And that's because the split between the 5D and the 3D that, we're living in right now, the lower vibrational Earth, is becoming a little bit more evident, I believe. That's, just obvious. You're seeing more of a split. And yes, we constantly shift through timelines every second. Depending on our mood, depending on our thoughts, and where we choose to reside with our thoughts and our actions. And that changes our vibration from any given second. But, this just really showed how, we can go from way lower of a vibration and, try to send a message. And that could be seen as the darkness lashing out because they're losing control, like I said. But I just hope that his family, I'm thankful to hear that some other celebrities have stepped up to help the family financially and support them. I'm sure he's got a great network from the looks of it, of people to help support him, and especially now with his family and with him being gone. And I'm just thankful that, people are stepping up to do that. It's very commendable for them to do that. So I guess I'm going to shift gears a little bit and kind of to let y'all know what I've been doing the last, few weeks. I've kind of been interviewing a lot of people. You've probably seen that on recent podcast episodes, but I want this to remain just kind of this podcast right now, as of right now, to kind of remain, flowing in that whatever I feel needs to be shared in any given episode is going to be shared, whether it's just me or whether I'm going to be interviewing people. I'm not always going to be interviewing people. Sometimes it needs to be something I need to share and get off my chest. And I've really been going through a lot more shadow work since we've went through this 9/9 portal recently and the blood moon that we went through last week. Huge emotional upheavals with me. So, obviously the female cycle, that kind of played into it. However, excuse me, my nose is itching. My allergies are kicking up right now. Down here it's getting kind of high with ragweed, and I'm allergic to that. So I wanted to just kind of let y'all know I've been going through a lot of emotional purging. I don't know what you've been going through, but I've been going through a huge emotional purges especially the last 2 weeks. I've been crying more this year than I have ever cried that I can remember. Maybe when my dad died, or I've had another death, like my dog or something. Like, I cry every few weeks, but it's really been a hard year for me going through my shadow work and purging, layer after layer of these emotions that have been trapped in me that need to be processed. And that's really what healing is about, is releasing those emotions, those trapped emotions that were unprocessed because we shut ourselves down in the moment, or we were told to shut ourselves down by, whoever in our life, our parents or teachers or whoever. And that is really why we're here right now in this time, is to learn how to release that, to do our shadow work, allow, the shadows to come up to the surface, to be, looked at, not feared and pushed down into our subconscious again, but looked at face to face, and you face your fears and you face those emotions. It can be very daunting for people to deal with those emotions, to even look at them, let alone process them and release them and cry it out or get the anger out or whatever it is. It can be very daunting and very scary to think about that, which is why most people choose not to do it. But we're in a period right now with these eclipses happening this month. We've got two. We've got a solar eclipse coming up in this next week or so. We just went through that blood moon lunar eclipse time, and it was amazing to me. I've actually seen it in, close friends of mine. There's a huge emotional purge of, more stuff coming to the surface, not just me. So, it's being forced up to the surface. The celestial bodies and these alignments, these eclipses, it all works together for humanity to push this thing up. And so I do believe this recent event with Charlie Kirk's assassination is a symptom, or, that's just what happened in this person or whoever was behind him. Obviously I think it's him, but it was part of that coming through the collective, to be coming up to the surface, to be expunged or purged out. And we're probably going to see some of that happening, and it's not to be feared. It's not at all to be feared. You really need to look at it as a symptom and know that on a collective scale, we are all going through this purge. And we're going to be seeing probably some crazy events coming up in the recent future, or, the future. And not to fear these events, that, you got to know that you help create your own reality by your thoughts, words, and actions. And if you choose to live in a lower vibration of fear, then that's what you're going to continue to experience. If you choose to say, I'm not going to look at this from fear, I'm going to look at this from a higher perspective, a more divine perspective, a more loving and thankful perspective of, wow, we're experiencing these things. Look at it, just take yourself out of your body in a way and kind of look at it from the way God looks at it, from, heaven down to the earth. and say, what can I learn from this? Like, okay, well, great. I've overcome all this stuff. I've purged all this stuff, and I've healed all this stuff up until now. Now, look where I'm at. Look where I'm going, like look at how amazing it can be. And you can shift, you consistently stay in that reality, that thought and that action pattern, working towards your goals, of, being a better person, trying to heal yourself and release these trapped emotions and want a better world for you and everybody around you, then you're going to create that. That's what happens. That's part of one of the laws of the universe. So, my suggestion is don't try to stay in a fear mentality when you see these things happening. I remember looking back, I know we recently had 9/11, come across. And I remember the day 9/11 happened. I was working on Sabine Island in Pensacola Beach, actually. It's a government EPA island, and I was working night security. And I just gotten off my night shift and gotten home and was, eating and kind of decompressing before I went to bed. And I was sitting there with my mom and my stepdad. And we were just sitting there chit-chatting. Well, we got a phone call from our captain. And he was very, you could tell he was very upset. And we're like, what's going on? And he's like, have you seen the news? Turn on the TV. So we turned on the TV and we saw literally the first plane had hit the Twin Towers. And the second plane hadn't even hit yet. We actually watched it hit while it was on TV. And I remember the fear that it put everybody in. It was a state of mania. It was huge, just fear what was going to happen. Are they going to bomb our whole country? Like, all these thoughts were going through everybody's heads. And of course, the media doesn't help because they're all, stirring it up. And you got to remember that these things happen for a reason. We are co-creating with the divine, our own reality. And we chose to go through that trauma. We chose to go through that so we can work through some of our traumas and past healings. And it's not just, who they blamed for it or whatever. It's all of us collectively around the world. There were some things that we really need to work on. There are some things that we need to purge out of our collective consciousness. These wounds that keep being applied by our shadow side, which, whatever you want to believe, negative entities that run this world or, the people that run the world. But, it's allowed to happen for us to learn and grow from. And when you look at it from that perspective, you can see it's a lot easier to see. You remove your emotions from it. You get out of that fear, lower vibration, and you can actually see that there was something that we needed to learn there. There was something that we needed to purge or break a cycle or something. And I just, wanted to bring that to people's, whatever you're bringing up to your thought. Just really try to think about all this stuff that we're going through collectively. It's a lot. We are collectively being called to account for, things that have happened in our past, our ancestors' past, and purging those things and ending those cycles, because we don't want to be having a World War III. We don't want that. Do you want that? No, I don't want that. I want us to basically ascend and move more towards unity and love for all, because nothing is going to get accomplished by killing people. Nothing, other than instilling more fear in people. If you want a better world and you want change, you're going to have to move out of that fear mentality, move out of the anger of what they did to us, and look at it from a higher perspective and say, what do we need to learn from this? How do we need to change? Let's do the work on ourselves. And that's how we're going to create the change. We're going to change our thoughts. We're going to move, keep ourselves out of the anger of what happened, recent events and 9/11 and everything. We're going to say, how can we fix this within ourselves? What within me caused me to react the way I did when I saw those things. Well, let's look at myself. It's that kind of thing that you need to do to make change in the world. And I've been saying this for episode after episode. Now that I've realized this recently, of the last year, that is the key to us changing our reality collectively, is moving out of fear state mentality. And that includes anger, the lower vibrations, anger and fear. Anger comes from fear. It's rooted in fear. So there's some kind of fear of something, of change probably. And a lot of the negative, lower vibrational beings on this earth don't want change. They want to keep us under control, under their thumb, and they want to keep us in servitude to them and in servitude to our fear and our own fear. We're keeping ourselves limited. If we realize the power that we have to change our own reality, you would see a huge change in this world if the majority of people would begin to look at their own wounds, and do their own inner shadow work and healing, and start changing their thought patterns, really take a proactive approach to that. You would see a huge change in this world. I am convinced of that. And I'm just calling people to really do that, really look at your own life, look at things from your past, start doing the shadow work, asking yourself, why do I have a knee-jerk reaction to this when this happens to me? Why do I go into anger rages when this happens to me? I go through it myself. I'm still healing from anger rages. I know a lot of you that know me may be a little surprised because you've never seen that out of me, but there is a shadow side to me that very few people, very close people to me, see it at home. And that's a side that I don't want. I'm not saying that I don't embrace it, because I love and embrace shadow and light side of me. But I don't want it to get the control over my life and have knee-jerk, wound reactions. And so that's why I'm saying that. I want to work through that shadow, work through those wounds that's triggering me into that kind of response, to actually, which in effect hurts people by words I say or whatever. When I get in a rage, it kind of takes over. And I need to work through that wounding so it can no longer control me. And that's what we all need to do, is work through that. And it's just really, it is sad to see so many people that fall victim to, reacting in their wounded state. And it's just part, again, of our learning. Collectively, we need to learn from this. We need to know what we need to change within ourselves to change our reality. I just really hope people will do the work. And, if you need help, you need some direction on where do I get started? How do I get started? Feel free to reach out to me. My email is etherealpathways144@gmail.com. It should be listed somewhere in the description of this video on my YouTube channel. Excuse me. But feel free to reach out to me if you don't want to get started on that. I'd love to help point people in the right direction. And really, if you need somebody to just ask you questions. Heck, I started recently going to my own therapist to try to work through some deeper wounds that I've had some trouble getting to with my anger issues. And I've gotten to a certain point in my healing, but I feel like I need a little extra assistance of somebody to come help walk me through it. And so it helps sometimes to get outside help to do this. You can do a certain level on your own, but sometimes, you do need professional help to work through, additional levels, deeper levels of the healing work. So don't be afraid to reach out to people. Again, if you need somebody to talk to also, please feel free to reach out to me and get some guidance. I don't want people to feel like they don't have anybody to talk to, that they don't have anybody that they can relate to. I'm not too big of a person. Obviously, I'm not well known, and I'm never going to be that way. I don't feel like to where I can't talk to people one-on-one and give them some help and some guidance. That's not something I ever want to stop doing. In fact, I'd rather do that more if I can. I really just want to offer my love to the collective. And for them to heal. And I want us to all, I want all of us to see change. And I do believe that we are going to see change. We're already beginning to see people waking up. So we are making a difference. We just need to continue to do that within ourselves and then help one another. Do it for each other. Help be there for somebody today. Just if you do one thing today, help be there for somebody today, even if it's just to listen to them. Sometimes people just need a listening ear to know that somebody cares. You don't know what anybody's going through behind closed doors. You don't know what pain they're holding on to. You don't know if they lost somebody recently and they don't know how to work through it. They can't bring themselves to talk about it or think about it because it's too painful. And you don't know what just listening to them, what a difference that'll make in their life. So that's just one thing I want to leave you with, on this podcast. I challenge everybody, including myself, to, find one person today that you could just listen to and, help them by listening to them. And if they want advice, sure, throw it in. But if nothing else, really just listen to them. Be there for them. Be an ear. And know that, that lets them know that they're not alone in something. So I hope this helps some people out there. I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed rest of their month of September, or whenever you're watching this. It's September 14th today. And, we're coming up on that solar eclipse. So we're going to probably see some things, new beginnings happen from then. And I definitely I've seen some endings in a way happen in my life from the lunar eclipse and the full moon. So the culmination of things. So, and yeah, it was very difficult for me to work through, but, and I may lose somebody I care about, and I hate to say that, but, don't be afraid to let go of what no longer serves you. That's something else that's coming up now. And I feel like somebody needs to hear this. If nothing else, I need to hear it. Don't be afraid to let go of what no longer serves you, what is no longer making you happy in your life. And that includes people, places, jobs, things. Don't be afraid to let go, because you have to make room for things that will make you happy and things that basically are your dreams. How are you going to make room for your dreams, your dream job, your dream relationship, your dream house, your dream life? How are you going to make room for that unless you clear out the old and let go of the old? You have to do that. And there's, just to tell y'all from experience, it's difficult. But once you get so tired of it, you're tired of dealing with it, you're tired of carrying that burden of whatever it is, that relationship, your unhappiness, you're feeling unfulfilled, whatever it is, you get to a certain point where you're just done and you're fed up and you're like, I need a change. And don't be afraid to make that change. If you need support of anybody, even me, reach out to me. Just somebody to help you, support you through your change and be there for you. I don't mind. So just, feel free to reach out to me if you need somebody to help you work through some changes, because we're all going through changes. We're all being called to let go of people, places, and things that no longer serve our highest good and where we're going in our ascension journey, collectively and individually. And we're going through this together. So the more support, the better. I really hope that this spoke to somebody out there. And I guess I'll leave you on that note. Please feel free to join me. Please like, comment, subscribe. I really want to hear from my audience. So if there's something in here you want to share that along with this video that you feel like you want to share, please feel free to comment. I'd like to, interact with my audience. I like to hear what people are going through on their end in their life around this lunar eclipse. So please share what you've gone through, or what you're going through right now, since it happened, and what you're noticing in yourself and the collective. And also feel free to like and subscribe this video. Obviously that helps me, but it also helps show it in front of more people, a bigger audience, which is in turn will help the collective. So please feel free to do that if you feel guided to do that. And I hope this, leaves you in love and light. I just want to send that out to everybody and send my love out to everybody. And take care.
It's like a fire burning through my chest. It's time to let it out. It's time to let it go. Parts of my past I can't control. So tonight we're celebrating what tried to break me.